Next set of presentation and panel discussions coming up, for which I invite on stage Captain Amol Deshmukh. He is Head of Marine Claims and Insurance, Aegis Corp Maritime Ventures LLP. So Captain Amol Deshmukh, you can please take it ahead.
Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you, Captain Chadha. Thanks, Captain Chadha and Marex, for this opportunity to speak at this conference. And congratulations to Marex once again on their golden Jubilee celebrations. Sorry, sir. Hopefully golden. Distinguished guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you a quick introduction about myself and then I'll come to the presentation that I'm going to speak on. So I've been a masterman at sea and I used to head a claims team at a tank operator. Subsequently, after my legal qualifications, I set up my own P&I correspondency firm. And we represent most of the IG clubs and the fixed premium insurers in India. Handling a variety of claims, a large portion of which naturally compose of crew injuries, illnesses, etc. And I think this is the right forum to have the perfect blend of industry colleagues and doctors. On the panel, Dr. Belani, we speak on the phone so often on incidents like this. And today I'm going to give you a perspective from the P&I side of the business, because as you're no doubt aware, P&I is a very critical component to the entire handling of a crew injury claim, because eventually they are the insurer who make the payouts. And in this particular presentation, while I was supposed to do a lot of data analysis, etc., what I've done is we've gone and introduced an actual case study that we handled a couple of months ago. And while we do a lot of physical injury claims, this was a new one concerning mental health and mental illness. So my first session topic is going to be on analysis of physical illnesses and injuries, a case study on a mental health of a crew member, and analysis of mental illness. We're still getting data, so it's still not fully out there. But whatever little data is available on the internet post-COVID on mental issues that seafarers face and happiness indexes. This is the data from the Swedish club, a little dated, but it doesn't matter, because the only thing you need to see over here essentially is the large component of or percentage that crew claims form in a total P&I bill. So if you see injury and illness, they account for approximately 25%. I'm told now that number has reached close to 40% over the last 5-6 years. So 40% of all P&I claims are injury, illness, accident, death, etc. So considering that, P&I clubs also pay a large importance. The loss prevention teams pay heavy importance to crew claims, injuries. And keeping in touch with the topics today of PEME and mental health, I've tried to get data so that we get a blend of the two in this. Again, an analysis from the Swedish club. So what this graph essentially shows is that if you see the column on the left, it's talking of the claims, the cost. The graph on the left, the dark green is the cost involved in, let's say, a flag state inspection medical PME, and what could be the potential liability that could arise out of that standard PME. And The club then goes on to say that if we had to expend, that's the column on the right, another $300,000, we potentially save the 1.5 million that we're looking at, less the additional costs. So we are saving approximately $1.25 million by introducing enhanced PEME tests and checks, which will go a long way in loss prevention. And I see on a lot of placards where it says PNI clubs approved, etc., flag state approved. And this is the level, the extra level of pre-PME tests that essentially people are engaged to require. This is, I couldn't get the latest IG data because a lot of the data hasn't been published, they're putting it all together, etc. But I got some data from the 3 of the largest insurers in Europe. It's a very small group, but you can generally see the trends which are happening over 21, 22. So the number of contracts or shipping contracts have actually reduced from 21 to 22, from 998, almost 1,000 to 968. But if you notice, the number of claims have gone up from 1,700 to 2,000, which is about a 21% increase in the number of claims over the same period of time. And while payouts in that particular year were 740,000 in 21 and about 662,000 in 22, while that might tend to allure that the number of claims are reduced, but you've got to understand that a policy year goes from one year to another and the payouts can even happen in the following year. So the important column to be looked at is the bottom one, which talks of the reserve for the above claims. So how much has the club actually put aside to have a possible payout to these claims? And here in 21, you'll see it's 1.6 million, and 22 has gone almost to 2 million. So which is a 21% increase in the number of payouts or reserves. This is a graphical analysis of data from running from one policy year and carrying on to next. So what happens is, if there is an incident in a particular policy year, it's quite possible that the payouts may go for several years thereafter because of either a person is missing, so they may have to wait until they are proclaimed dead by the authorities, or it could be a permanent disability situation, or it could be an ongoing treatment, and so on. Now, the standout here is, for me in this analysis, is basically if you see 2017 when there was a sudden spike from 2 million euros to 3 million euros. And then if you see this region here from the year 2020 to 2021, jumping from straight away 1 million euros to 3 million euros. And this is possibly the outcome of COVID and the related issues around it. So there's a general increase in claim payouts year on year, especially after COVID. That's the general trend which we are observing. And if you observe that this is a breakdown chart of, are you able to see the graph? So generally it's a breakdown of what are the costs involved in the different aspects of a crew claim. So 2% is approximately fatalities, 38% disabilities, and so on. But what I would like you to look at is this almost 40% cost is based for replacements and repatriation. So it's not directly related to the crew itself or the payout to the crew, but the replacement of the crew and the relievers. So I would like to touch upon a case study that we recently handled, and this was the first one for us as well. I mean, we've done a lot of crew injury, death, and so on, but this was the first case of mental health illness that we had to deal with, and it was a new one for the club, for us, for everyone ashore. And I thought it would be quite relevant to bring this case study in as opposed to the usual routine accidents that you get on board. So what happened in this case was, it's a 30-year-old gentleman who was an AB serving on board. So essentially, long contracts, sign-offs are delayed, and so on and so forth. Seafarers started exhibiting a lot of behavioral changes on board. There's a lot of stress, anxiety, anger issues, threatening to damage ship's equipment, taking the hammer, trying to break the radar, and things like that. And it all started from a casual remark that the officer had made that, you want to sign off, go off, walk off the gangway. That was probably a trigger which sparked it off. And it led to a lot of issues because then the ship had to be taken into port. It was a threat to people and equipment on board. He had to be signed off at the nearest hospital in India. Now, the problem here is that hospitals are designed primarily to deal with physical injuries. So they brought this person ashore, they put him under observation in a ward, and there's nothing physically wrong with him. They just did a number of tests, etc. And I think that was probably a failure on the entire system's part, because nobody realized that this person does not need physical help, he needs a different kind of help. And he spent some time in the general ward, some time in the ICU. And while he was there, the same behavior started repeating again. So he started damaging the hospital's equipment, he started destroying the beds, the sensors, and pulling out things and trying to run away and so on and so forth. Hospital got immediately concerned because they'd already suffered a loss of their equipment and so on, and they got professional security in. Professional security was a separate bill that we had to eventually foot. And then we got in touch with the embassy, and we all decided collectively that there's nothing much that we can do here, and he should be sent home to his hometown to seek professional help. And we had to arrange a medical escort to make sure that, because the airlines wouldn't take him unless he was accompanied by a doctor and security personnel, to be escorted to his hometown. Upon investigation at the hospital, it came to be known that he used to take an antipsychotic medication called quetiapine. Doctor colleagues can correct me on that, while he was on board. And due to lack of shore leave and extended contracts, he ran out of his stock that he had on board, which he used to consume without declaring to the officers. And that, as a consequence, led to these series of events. Interestingly, this was not declared in the PEME, and neither the club nor the owners or anybody, or even the recruitment agents, were aware. So the financial bill was about 6,000 as a hospital bill, 5,000 damage to equipment, security guards 5,000, repatriation cost 3,500, sickness allowance 2,500, loss of time to the vessel itself, replacement expense, legal costs because he is claiming compensation from the ship owners and the club, which has now gone to a forum in this local jurisdiction. And so let's see, the total cost of the entire incident was over $35,000, and it's still climbing. Interestingly, MLC has a regulation 4.25C, which says the ship owner can exclude liability where a sickness is undeclared or intentionally concealed. The consequences were that he was disqualified from availing compensation for the time he's on sick leave and he's away taking medication. He's challenging that under his local forum as we speak. While the club has covered the expenses, but the ship owner member is going to face increased premiums as a consequence of this incident. So what are the key takeaways that we see here is, one is importance of proper disclosure in a PME. Detailed analysis like brain mapping tests, seafarers' mental well-being, psychometric tests may not be the only answer. Have a proactive approach on board, and I think maybe one of the causes of this is also a lot of social media contact that seafarers are exposed to today, which we didn't have when we were sailing. So there's a lot of anxiety which is created as a consequence. Emphasize the potential impact that non-disclosure can have on a ship owner. Introduce helplines, I'm sure a lot of organizations are doing that, chatbots, etc. This is an analysis of mental illness, health and happiness data taken from the mission to seafarers. Now, if you see the chart, generally over 2022 to 23, there is a sudden decline, and you're going to see more and more of these incidents coming down. We've dealt with a couple of suicide cases, so I didn't have enough time to put them in here, but that's another reason, because of lack of mental well-being on board, we're going to see more and more of these issues. Generally by ship type, the analysis shows that cruise ship officers and crew are the happiest on board, naturally. Container ships are not as happy, obviously because of larger, shorter turnarounds, etc. By rank, engineers are the happiest. Any engineers here? They're partying. Engineers are generally the happiest on board. Catering department is 7.9 as the happiest party animals on board. The captain is along with the crew and the junior officers. So either he's taking a lot of stress handling the mental well-being of all these crew members on board, or there's a lot of pressure from you guys. But generally it shows that different departments on the same ship, on a particular ship, can also have different issues. So thank you very much. It was a brief presentation, but I don't know if I have time for questions, but I'm always around for a drink later on, and happy to discuss any P&I related information. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Captain Kamal Chadha to present a small token of appreciation to Captain Amol.